Hello, fifth graders, and welcome to your math lesson for today. Before we get started, we want to make sure we're getting our materials together. So I'm going to show you what you need to get. You should pause, go get those things, and then come on back. So today you are going to need the same things you've needed the last couple of days. You'll need your 5A textbook, your 5A workbook, your math resource binder, and then pencil and paper or whiteboard and marker. And either way, really, you're going to need a pencil in the end. So our last lesson, we were working on estimating, and we talked a lot about how we want to make sure that when we're rounding our numbers in order to estimate, we want to do so smartly so that we're able to find the easiest, simplest answer. So for our warm-up exercise today, I would like you to estimate the value of this problem. So go ahead, pause. Once you have your estimate, press play and see how you did. So remember, fifth graders, when we're doing division, this number is going to stay the same. Our divisor will stay the same. And so I've asked you to focus on these first two digits. Round those first two digits into something that is going to be evenly divisible by 4. And you want to get as close as possible. So the closest number to 31 that is divisible by 4 is going to be 32. So you should have rounded to 32,000 divided by 4. Now remember, we can just do our division and then add our zeros. So 32 divided by 4, that's a math fact we should know. Okay, 32 divided by 4 is 8, and then we add our zeros. So your estimate should have been 8,000. This is our closest, best estimate for this problem. Fifth graders, for today, our objective is going to be finding a number's factors. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about this word factor and what it means. You should have in your math resource binder a set of notes that says what is a factor. So I'm going to get you pointed towards my copy of the notes, and we're going to go through them together. What is a factor? So I tell you that a factor of a number is any amount that divides into that number exactly, leaving no remainder. For example, 2 is a factor of 12 because 2 goes into 12 16 times. Sorry, 6 times. Woo. Another way of saying that is 2 is a factor of 12 because I can divide 12 by 2 evenly. So we see this factor pair, 2 times 6 equals 12. This means that 6 is also a factor of 12. So if we were to list all of the factors of 12, you can see them, and they go together in pairs. I'll keep talking about factor pairs. So 1 times 12 is 12, so 1 and 12 are factors. 2 times 6 is 12, so 2 and 6 are factors. 3 times 4 is 12, so 3 and 4 are factors. So again, another way to think about this is if you can divide a number by something, then that something is a factor. If you can divide 12 by 3, then 3 is a factor, okay? 5, for example, would not be a factor of 12 because you cannot divide 12 by 5 and get a whole number. You end up with a remainder, okay? So we're going to apply that information and work on finding factors of various digits. So you're going to want your textbook to work along with me, as well as you'll want to have your loose leaf or paper, whatever you are choosing to use, whiteboard perhaps, to work with me. We're going to open first to page 17 in our textbook, and we're going to work on number 1 first. So the first question we're asked is 4 a factor of 110? So if we remember that definition, I told you that a number is a factor of another number if you can divide by it and end up without a remainder. So how are we going to check this? We're going to do our division. Remember, your job is to be working along with me. So if I'm dividing 110 by 4, you should also be dividing 110 by 4 on a piece of paper or a whiteboard. And as always, if you need to pause, you can do that. So a good thing to remember is that as we're doing our division, it's a good idea to have something above each digit in our dividend to make sure we're doing our division correctly. So how many times does 4 go into 1? It doesn't go in at all. So I put an X there to really mark that it's not, I've looked at that digit and it doesn't go in. Now we ask, how many times does 4 go into 11? The answer is twice. 2 times 4 is 8. Now we do our subtraction. 11 minus 8 is 3. We bring down a 0. This fact is actually kind of nice. I did not do this on purpose, but this kind of relates to our warm-up question. So how many times does 4 go into 30? From our warm-up question, we said 4 times 8 is 32, which tells us 8 is going to be too high here, so 7 is going to be our next closest. 7 times 4 is 28, and we have a remainder of 2. So remember, something is a factor if you can divide by it and have no remainder. So we divided 110 by 4. Did we have a remainder? Yes. So is 4 a factor of 110? The answer for number 1 would be no, because we have a remainder. All right. We're going to go ahead and turn the page. We're going to follow a pretty specific process as we're working on numbers 2 and into 3 a little bit. And this is very much going to relate to the same exact process that you're going to want to complete for your homework. So when we're being asked to find the factors, that doesn't mean find a couple of them. It means try to find all of the factors of 84. And actually, just for the purposes of our practice, we're going to say instead of 84, we'll say find the factors of 24. And again, that means all the factors of 24. So we're going to, anytime you're asked to find all the factors of a number, we want to follow the same process. So we're going to start with putting our number at the top. Okay. And then we're going to make this table. We want to make our lives as simple as possible, which means don't go make it harder than it has to be. Okay? So we want to go really systematically through. We want to go in order. So we start always with a factor chart with the number 1, because 1 is a factor of all numbers. Okay, so 1 times what is 24? We want to create our factor pairs. So as we're going down, we should be listing factor pairs as we go. So 1 and 24 are a factor pair of 24. Again, we want to go systematically. Do not make this harder than it has to be. So after you've checked 1, you want to check the number 2. 24 is even, so will it be divisible by 2? Yeah, every even number is divisible by 2, okay? So we can say that, yes, 2 is a factor pair. So now we ask 2 times what is 24? 2 times 12 is 24. So now we have the next factor pair. You might know another factor of 24, but again, we're checking in order to make sure we're getting all the factor pairs. So the next number to check, we did 1, we did 2. If we're following the logical sequence, the next thing we're going to check is 3. Is 24 divisible by 3? It is. So what is the factor pair? 3 and what make 24? 3 times 8 is 24. Again, we want to be logical. So we've done 1, 2, and 3. What are we going to check next? We're going to check 4. Okay, we want to go in order. Is 24 divisible by 4? The answer is yes. 4 times 6 is 24. And now we're going to check logically what's our next number. 1, 2, 3, 4. We want to check 5. But you should remember the rule of multiples of 5. Multiples of 5 are always going to end in a 0 or a 5. This number does not end in a 0 or a 5, which means that 5 is not a multiple, or sorry, a factor, excuse me, of 24. The next number, so if we said not 5, the next number we would check is 6, but you should notice 6 is already here on our on the other side of our factor chart. So if we're finding all the factors of 24, we should be confident that these are all the factors of 24. Okay, let's try another one together. I'm just going to go away from our textbook for now and be working through. So let's try all, actually this is one of the textbook problems, but we'll say find the factors of 36. So again, we want to create our chart. As a reminder, you should be working along with me, okay? I'm doing it, so you should be doing it with me. Step number 1 is always start with number 1. 1 is always a factor of any number we're going to be looking at. 1 times what is 36, so the factor pair 1 and 36, they go together. Now we want to be logical about it, so what do we check next? 2. 36 is an even number, so we know that 2 will be a factor of 36. So now we have to figure out what is this factor pair. 2 times what is 36? You might be able to do this in your head, and if not, you can do your quick little division over here. Okay, and you should find that the correct answer is 18. 2 and 18. Okay, now we're going to check 3. I'm going to point out that 3 is divisible by 3 and 6 is divisible by 3. So that definitely means that 3 is going to be a factor. But again, if you're unsure, you can come off to the side and do your division. 36 divided by 3. If you do that division and you do it correctly, 3 times what is 36? You should end up with 12. We're following our steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hopefully, this is a factor pair that you guys know. This is one of our math facts that we should have memorized. 4 times what is 36? 4 times 9 is 36. So we've done 1, 2, 3, 4. The next one we check is 5. 36 does not end in 0, nor does it end in 5, so 5 is not a factor. Next we check 6. Is 36 divisible by 6? The answer is yes. What is the factor pair? 6 times 6 is 36. Okay, we actually didn't list these here. We probably should have. So this is a good time to notice, right? So we've met back in the middle. So now we don't have to go any higher because as soon as you meet a number on this side, you can stop. So as we're listing these factors, which you'll be asked in homework to list sometimes, or on a test to list. So you just put them in order: 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. 6 is listed twice because 6 times 6, but we don't want to list it twice here. So we skip this 6 and go straight on to 9, 12, 18, 36. Okay, I am going to ask you now to pause the video. I want you to do the same process on your own. I'm going to ask you to find all the factors of, let's see, 40. Find all the factors of 40. So I'm going to get you started. Remember, you're going to create your chart. I want you to pause now. Find all the factors of 40. You're going to list them at the bottom when you're done. When you're done, press play and see how you did. All right, fifth graders, hopefully you followed this in a system. And you should have, of course, started with 1 and 40. 1 times 40 is 40. You should also have seen that 40 is an even number, so 2, and then what is the factor pair? 2 and 20 make 40. Our next logical step is to check 3 as a factor. If you weren't sure, you should have tried your division, and if you tried to divide by 3, you would have found out that it does not go in evenly, so 3 is not a factor of 40. So next we check 4. 4 times 10 is 40. Next we check 5. 5 times 8 is 40. Next you would check 6. You cannot divide 40 by 6 evenly, so it is not a factor. And finally you'd check 7. You cannot divide 40 by 7 evenly, so 7 is not a factor. So then when you're done, you would list these all together. Once you get to 7, by the way, you see that we're back to 8, so you don't have to go any further. So we would list all the factors of 40, and you should have 1, 2, 4, 5, 8, 10, 20, and 40. Okay, we're going to take a look at one more problem. This one is from our textbooks. And we're being asked, is 6 a common factor of 54 and 132? Okay. Another way of thinking about this would be saying, can you divide both of these numbers by 6 evenly? Common means they share it. Okay, so you want to ask, 54 divided by 6, is that a whole number with no remainder? 132 divided by 6, is that a whole number with no remainder? Okay. 54 divided by 6 is one that I hope that you're able to do in your heads. It's a math fact that you know. 6 times what is 54? You should know that 6 times 9 is 54. So yes, 6 is a factor of 54. Okay. You might know this one in your head, or you might have to do the division. If you do the division, you should find that, does it divide evenly? The answer is yes. So is 6 a common factor of 54 and 132? The answer is yes, they share that factor. Okay. So fifth graders, your homework is going to be asking you to follow the same process where you're going to find the factors of something. You're going to create this factored pair chart in order to see what the common factors are. I am going to post for you, like I've been doing. There's going to be a practice sheet. It'll have a couple that I want you to practice on your own. Remember that I provide the key for those practice sheets, but the purpose of that key is not for you to go copy those answers and be like, woo, I got it done. Yeah. The purpose is for you to solve the problems and then check your work. If you are feeling like you cannot figure out where your mistakes are, then office hours or send me a question, okay? Once you have successfully completed and corrected your practice work, then you can go on to your homework. Your homework is also going to be posted as an attachment, okay? The homework questions you're going to complete, and then once you've completed them, you're going to take a picture of that work. Remember, complete it on a separate piece of paper. This is something else that I want to make sure we're numbering our answers so that Mr. Tom Haven and I can easily navigate your work, okay? Show your work. I want to see your work. That's helpful for us to be able to coach you if there are mistakes, if we can see where things went wrong. And then once you've done those things, you're going to take a picture, which remember your ABCs. You want to make sure that all of your work is in the picture, that the picture is bright enough, that your work is close enough to the camera, and that you're holding it still enough. Okay. Good luck. Rewatch the video. You've got those notes as well. And of course, ask questions if you've got them, or request help during office hours. Good luck.